All right, today we're going to tackle a conversation that is happening in every boardroom, or at least it should be. How do you actually explain AI? We're going to cut through all the noise and build a really clear, strategic way to think about it and, a way to actually win with it. So let's just dive right in.
First things first, let's talk about the prize. We're looking at an economic impact of AI hitting, get this, $22.3 trillion by 2030. Now, to put that in perspective, this isn't just another tech trend. This is a fundamental economic shift, kind of like the invention of electricity. It is, without a doubt, the single biggest opportunity on the table for any business today. But, and this is a huge but,
Here's the catch. A staggering 95% of all AI pilot projects fail. They just don't deliver on their promise. Think about that for a second. The huge majority of companies out there are pouring money and resources into this, and they're coming up empty. It's like a massive graveyard of good intentions and wasted cash.
Which, of course, brings us to the most important question of all. When the stakes are this high and the failure rate is so brutal, how do you make sure your company is in that tiny 5% that actually gets it right? Well, I'll tell you, it's not about having the flashiest tech. It's about having the right map for the journey.
And this is that map. The real key here is to stop thinking about AI as just one thing. Instead, you've got to see it as a journey, a climb up a ladder of maturity. There are 5 distinct levels, and simply understanding where you are on this ladder and where you need to go next, that's the absolute first step to winning.
So here's the entire journey just laid out for you at a glance. You see, it starts simple with what we'll call obedient chatbots. Then it moves up to assistants who know you. Then to expert co-creators. Then to autonomous agents. And finally, way out in the future, organizational platforms. Okay, so let's break down what each of these steps actually means.
Okay, level 1. This is where pretty much everyone starts. Think about those simple customer service bots you see everywhere, like the ones Sephora uses. They are fantastic at answering the top 20 most common questions, they have a script, and they stick to it. But the moment you ask something even slightly out of the ordinary, boom, let me get you to a human agent. They're efficient for sure, but they're also incredibly rigid.
Now, at level 2, things get a lot more interesting. The AI actually starts to know you. The best way to think about it is like having a perfect personal assistant. Someone who understands your projects, your files, your calendar, your preferences, but they still wait for you to give them a command. This is where AI becomes truly personal.
And listen, this isn't some science fiction concept. A massive 70% of Fortune 500 companies are already using tools like Microsoft 365 Copilot, and that's a perfect example of level 2. It can summarize a meeting you missed or find a specific file because it has the context of your work. This is really where those first big productivity gains start to kick in.
All right, level 3. This is where the whole relationship changes. You go from having an assistant to having a partner. Think of it like having an expert consultant on call 24/7. Tools like GitHub Copilot for programmers or Adobe Firefly for designers, they don't just wait for instructions. They actively suggest ideas, propose code, and co-create right alongside you. And the impact at this level, it's just staggering. We are not talking about little 5% improvements here. Developers using GitHub Copilot are seeing a 55% jump in productivity. And look at Deutsche Bank. They're using a similar AI to cut down the time it takes to write these incredibly complex financial reports from days to just a few minutes. That's a total game changer.
Level 4. Okay, this is where things become truly transformative. We move from having a co-pilot to letting the AI actually pilot the plane. At this level, you can give an AI a complex goal, like launch a new marketing campaign, and it manages the whole thing. And this is already happening. Morgan Stanley is rolling this out to its 16,000 financial advisors, basically giving them AI agents to handle complex strategic work.
So if this is so great, why is reaching this level so incredibly difficult? Well, McKinsey has this term for it, the generative AI paradox. You see, while tons of companies are playing around with Gen AI, almost none of them, less than 10%, get these projects out of the pilot stage. And the reason is simple. Reaching level 4 isn't just about plugging in new technology. It demands that you completely reinvent your business processes from the ground up.
And that brings us to level 5. Now, this is still pretty much theoretical, but it's where this whole path is logically heading. We're talking about a virtual CEO, an AI system managing an entire organization. And this raises some pretty profound ethical and societal questions about control and purpose that, frankly, we are only just beginning to figure out how to even ask.
Okay, so we've got the map, we see the 5 levels, but now we absolutely have to talk about the dangers along the way. Because the path up that ladder, well, it's littered with the wreckage of failed projects. And these aren't just mistakes, these are priceless lessons from companies that learned some very painful, very expensive lessons.
Let's start with a funny one, the McNugget glitch. So after a 3-year partnership with IBM, McDonald's had to pull its AI drive-thru system. Why? Because a video went viral of this poor guy trying to cancel an accidental order for 260 McNuggets, and the AI just wouldn't let him. The lesson here couldn't be clearer. Your shiny new AI has to work in the messy, chaotic real world, not just in a sterile lab.
Next up, the Zillow algorithm that ended up costing the company $881 million. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant at predicting house prices in a normal, stable market. But when a black swan event like the pandemic came along, the whole model just shattered catastrophically. The teaching here is so critical. You absolutely must have human supervision to guard against the unexpected. It's non-negotiable. And, well, this might be the most chilling story of all. IBM's Watson for Oncology. After a $62 million investment, this thing was supposed to revolutionize cancer treatment. Instead, it was found to be giving seriously dangerous advice, like recommending drugs that worsen bleeding to patients who are already hemorrhaging. A doctor's feedback was pretty direct. This product is shit. The brutal lesson? Your AI is only as good as its data, and it has to be validated by real-world experts, period.
You know, all of these failures, they point back to the same handful of mistakes being made in the boardroom. First, blindly handing off AI to the IT department. Second, totally underestimating the risk to your reputation, like when Air Canada's chatbot literally lied to a customer about a refund policy and the company was held liable. And third, trying to manage this super fast technology with slow, clunky, outdated governance structures. It just doesn't work.
Okay, we've seen the map of the journey and we've seen the minefields to avoid. So let's pivot from what can go wrong to the playbook for how you actually get this right. The secret is a phased approach. You cannot just sprint to the finish line here. For the first 6 months, you just focus on building the foundations. Train your people, run some small, low-risk pilots to learn and build some momentum. Then, in phase 2, you start to scale the things that worked and build some serious governance around them. And only then, once that foundation is rock solid, can you even begin to aim for that true, large-scale transformation.
Look, all the research from places like McKinsey is crystal clear on this. The winning formula isn't about tech. It's a 3-legged stool. You need a clear strategy from the very top, you need strong governance to manage the risks, and you need a deep, real commitment to changing how your organization works. If any one of those legs is missing, the whole thing just falls over. You can't just bolt AI onto your old ways of doing things and expect a revolution.
And that really gets to the core of the right mindset. You know, as Demis Hassabis from Google DeepMind puts it, the goal here isn't to replace people. It's to create this powerful collaboration between human experience and algorithmic speed and scale. The future isn't man versus machine, it's man with machine.
And so, that's what we're left with, this single question. The AI revolution isn't on its way, it's already here. And that window of opportunity is closing faster than you think. So the question for your boardroom is no longer if your company is going to be transformed by this, it's whether you're going to be the actor shaping your own destiny or the victim that gets left behind.